to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What is up, my party people? Welcome in on a Monday evening. In the words of the world-renowned sentimentalist Baby Keem, won't you think about you and I? Just grab my hand and, baby, look me in the eye. Look, this ain't something that you should decide. This ain't something that you should decide. 16, ladies and gentlemen, 16 official visits went down this past weekend at the University of Georgia. It is a record under Kirby Smart as the head coach at the University of Georgia. This was by far their biggest recruiting weekend they've ever had, and I want to tell you exactly why it is unique. It's not unique because it is massive. In fact, this is something that Clemson, a program that you guys are very familiar with, and is going to be an oddly, relative subject in tonight's episode. But Clemson is actually probably the program I'm most connected with regards to this massive blowout first weekend of the summer. Bring all the, quote unquote takes we can, get them on official visits and pressure everybody to kind of commit. Get a lot of momentum in on one weekend, get a bunch of guys in town. This is not unique. Clemson kind of started it. That's exactly what they've kind of been doing for several years now under Kirby Smart, under Dabo Swinney. And you know what? For that matter, it works. They get a lot of momentum out of this first weekend every single summer. A lot of in-state Georgia kids up there every single summer. I think last year was like 25 guys. This year it was close to 18, 20 guys up there on their first official visits weekend. It is unique, however, how Georgia did it. Georgia did it this weekend a little bit different than any other program that I've kind of been close to or studied or looked into when it comes to the official visits weekend, right? Everyone's been doing this now. Hey, bring as many guys as we can. Let's get a big party, right? Let's get a big vibe going on. Georgia did it a little bit different this weekend. 16 personal drivers, 16 unique schedules, 16 meetings every single day with Kirby Smart, 16 individual meetings with Kirby Smart, 16 different itineraries, 16 different experiences for 16 different players on one unique campus. That's what Georgia did this weekend. And when I listened to guys talk about it over and over and over again last couple of days, I just got to thinking about, I hear a lot of bitching and moaning. From national media members as of late. Oh, that Kirby Smart gets everything he wants. Oh, that Kirby. Oh, Georgia's just getting every player that they want. It's bad for football. It's bad for college football for these guys to go to this one school. I hear a lot of bitching, moaning, and complaining about how it's happened or what has happened, but I don't hear a lot of explanations as to why. I don't hear anybody come on their programs or talk on their programs about how or why they're doing this other than, well, Kirby just wins football games. That's a rather it's an explanation that lacks a lot of detail, right? Doesn't give us really any answers other than the result. The result is winning football games. That is not how it happens. So how does it happen? Okay, Kirby doesn't just get great football players at the University of Georgia. He doesn't get them because he's at the University of Georgia. That's not the only reason. He doesn't just get them because they win football games. He gets them because he creates, doing this right here, he creates unique relationships with unique football players in that setting. When he has them on campus, when he has an opportunity to meet them, he creates one-on-one experiences and relationships with that individual in that individual's camp, in that individual's family, right? It's a one-on-one experience while also being in this massive blowout. Meanwhile, down there in Gainesville, okay, you got Billy Napier grabbing basically like the top 3 or 4 recruits and throwing them in his rented Maybach while the rest of the assistants round up all the other players that are on campus that weekend, bust them over to the Dave and Buster's in town. Okay, it's not about cracking on Dave and Buster's. It's about pointing out the juxtaposition between those two football programs, right? And nowadays, everybody has the assets. You can't just be out here talking about bagman this, bagman that. In fact, on this program, I think we've actually kind of laid out how it's pretty obvious that Georgia and schools like Alabama are actually not the programs that are out here throwing these bags like some of these other programs that are now running atop the spending budgets in college football. Okay, so if you want to know the why, That's it. Just don't just be out here bitching and moaning about Kirby gets great players. Yes, Kirby gets great players. How does he do that? Well, he does it like this, and his staff does it like this. It is not easy, ladies and gentlemen. Think about all the logistics that have to go into that. You have about 60 hours from the moment them suckers get off that plane and get onto campus in Athens until they leave midway through Sunday afternoon, right? You got Friday afternoon to Sunday morning, right? It's about all you really got to really impress everybody. Meanwhile, you got 16 of them on campus, and your goal and your mission is to go out and have 16 different unique experiences. Not, hey, let's all go over to Dabo's house and have a good family dinner, and then we'll go out on the lake and we'll flip some folks around on the tube. That's all great recruiting. That has yielded perfect results. Okay, that has yielded really, really good results at Clemson. That's a different kind of task that they went after this weekend in Athens. And by all accounts, which we're going to tell you a little bit more about tonight, by all accounts, the individuals that were there this weekend at the University of Georgia, they had themselves a pretty impactful time. Welcome in tonight. Hey, I hope I'm going to give y'all a little bit of nausea tonight. We got it back. We got the switcher, baby. We got the switcher back. Okay, we're back in our groove. We're back in our grind, and it's a loaded show for you guys tonight. ESPN obviously released their top 25 today. It's the FPI, okay, Football Power Index that we're going to talk about today. We're going to basically battle the nerds, all right? The FPI is a metric, a system, a computer, right, that prints out what they think are the best teams in college football. We're going to argue the nerds. We're going to argue the computers tonight, give you a little bit of buy or sell. Okay, a whole bunch of radio topics going on tonight. I'm juiced up, excited for it. We're also going to give you a recap, like I said, of this weekend, what all went down, those 16 official visits. But I think we just gave you the most important thing about that, just how absolutely unique their experiences were this weekend and how unique that is to college football, okay? Again, that is why Georgia does things differently, and they get different results, right? But most of their differences that I have found from observing this program over the last couple of years, most of the differences in this program from others revolve around work ethic. I shit you not. There is no secret. They don't hide it. I've been standing behind SEC Coach A, SEC Coach B, SEC Coach A from the University of Georgia, SEC Coach B from school left to be unnamed, SEC Coach B walks over to Coach from Georgia. Coach, dang, y'all out here tonight? Don't y'all play in the SEC championship game tomorrow? Yes, we do, Coach. Why y'all out recruiting tonight? It's the state of Georgia. Why would we not be out recruiting tonight? Well, dang, I've been trying to tell my coach that in the state that we live in on Friday nights, but he won't let us get out. Why? I don't know. Georgia ain't got that problem. Okay, you want to know another example? Georgia wins their second national title in as many years. What does Kirby Smart do? 10 coaches, 10 schools per coach. We're hitting 100 schools in one day. Let's go. As soon as we get home, kiss your mama, kiss your lady, tuck the kids in bed, get back on that helicopter. We're dropping down on 100 schools today because why the not, right? Every bit of their differences, every bit of their, reasons that they are better, they are born in work. They are born in sacrifice. They are born in effort and ethic, like work ethic. So there you go. We're going to give you a recap. I want y'all to kind of give that thumbs up on this channel, okay? We working hard. It's been a good off season for you guys with regards to the content on this channel. If you're not already subscribed, please feel free to do so, okay? It's one click somewhere on your screen, okay? If you're in a massive viewing window, back out right quick, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell on the notification so you know when we're going on shows and you know when we got content coming out, all that good stuff. Y'all do a tremendous job of supporting us everywhere we have been. Obviously, that's why we're still here and we're still doing it. So appreciate y'all for being here. I do want to talk about this, though, and I kind of wanted to start with this tonight, but it's not really Georgia-related news, and you guys tell me to hammer the dogs, and if I don't talk dogs, y'all don't really want to talk, which may change one day. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to have to, but it may change one day. We're always going to give you dogs, but sometimes I got some other things, like this right here. Sammy Brown made a tremendous decision today. A tremendous decision for Sammy Brown. Let me explain something to you. Okay. I was watching a coaching clinic the other day from your Kirby Paul Smart, because why the hell not? Got nothing else better to do. So I'm watching this coaching clinic, and I'm sitting there, and Kirby got the all 22 up from Clemson. And he's showing Clemson, Ohio State, a couple playoff games ago. And he's showing the backside cut to the door, boom, 6. And he's like, y'all see this? Watch these linebackers. And as soon as he paused it, as soon as he saw grass, you could see that old Skowski, that old dirty mofo. You could just see him just click and go. You just fire, right? As soon as he saw grass, as soon as he saw open window in his visual, he said, go now, click and drive, right? Immediately right down the hill. He talked about, basically showing these clips and then explaining like, hey, with how modern offenses now run inside zone, this right here, this type of defense that Venables and Clemson and now Clemson's new defensive coordinator and all these guys run, okay, this style of defense leads to a lot of tackle for losses, leads to a lot of havoc plays, leads to a lot of -3s where the quarterback hands the ball off to the running back and he immediately gets smacked. But it also leads to a lot of these, linebacker filled, there's a hole that now opened up in backside B gap. They don't have a second level defender and boom, foot in the ground, go. Good back hits us for 60. There's a lot of that, right? So it's a give and take. And if you know anything about Kirby Smart, that's like the antithesis of the type of defense that he wants to play. That dude wants to play suffocating defense. He wants to be a boa constrictor. He wants to just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze 3 yards at a time. Doesn't care. You're going to eventually turn it over or run out of downs, right? So his method of defense is more of like, hey, if we see a gap, let's like approach it, but let's not sprint into it. Let's just close the gap. Let's just squeeze, right? Let's just squeeze. So basically, what you would actually happen is, right, when a hole would flash open, linebackers would just squeeze that hole and chase that backside, that near hip. It's really hard on audio and a visual purpose, but you get what I'm saying. There's one style of defense that is much more like sprint and stick, right? Or sprint and fill team is what I like to call these, right? Big, striking linebackers, the Skowskis, right? As soon as they see grass, go. We want to go. We want to stick. We want to fully commit. We don't have to worry about any second guessing or indecisiveness. Our job is to fill what we see, whereas Georgia's linebackers are much more modern mobile backers. They're like a scrape and chase football team, right? You scrape with your shoulders square. As soon as you see green grass where we have to go, we have to commit now, boom, chase, right? Scrape and chase versus a defense that is much more based on sprint and stick, right? Sprint and stick. Well, if you've listened to anything we've talked about on this platform with regards to Sammy Brown, the moment we turned on the tape, what did we say? Sammy Brown is the most explosive pound-for-pound linear athlete we've evaluated. What does linear athlete mean? Well, that means that son gun is straight line, in a line, linear. Okay, 6'3", 230 pounds, 10.6 in the 100, 40-plus inch vertical, right? And a tremendous broad jumper. Okay, everything squats out the ass. I mean, just ridiculous numbers. Power cleans 405. All of these metrics that are linear metrics, these are signs of explosivity, right? That dude just went to the best defense for him, for what he does. I'm not saying he couldn't have come to Georgia or won't come to Georgia or the walls are closed in or whatever. His decision today was committed to the best football program that fit his styles. That's straight up. All right. Now, culturally, that kid is a Clemson kid, just like Barrett Carter is a Clemson kid. All right. I said the other day, there are two types of football players. There are players that never see the camera, never would ever even acknowledge it. You'd never catch a photo of them actually looking at the lens. And then there's another type of player who can't not see it. That sun gun, if there's one camera on the field and he's at the backside pylon, if that sun gun scores, he going to be like, what's up, baby? He going to find it. There are two different types of football players nowadays. All Clemson football players are the first. Ain't a damn Clemson player one ever asked me for a photo. Not one. Sammy Brown didn't even follow me until like a month ago. That dude is not into it. That dude is not into anything but, hey, fishing, playing football. Great decision for Sammy Brown today. And, you know, that is what it is. Sometimes the Georgia beat reporter and the Georgia guy, the film guy, is going to come on here and tell you, football-wise, great decision. Great decision for Sammy Brown. Glad to have you guys in today. I already told you, it's a loaded show. I got two different laptops going on right now, and as you can see, I'm all jacked up. I have some questions about new lighting. Hey, look, man, we always trying to improve. We've been telling you that over and over and over and over and over again. We're always trying to improve on this channel. Just you wait. All right, I'm going to give you the quick rundown on the weekend, okay? Everybody. They're going to get everybody. Everybody. In all seriousness, we dropped more than half a dozen sliding scale majiggies over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin today. What is a sliding scale majiggy, Brooks Austin? What in the hell is that? I ain't never heard of such nonsense. I'm going to tell you what the sliding scale majiggy is right now. It is the industry's leading, prediction sliding scale thermometer. Okay, you want to know what the temperature of any recruitment that you so please? Sliding scale majiggy got something for you. Okay, it's one of these things that just slides up and down based off the confidence that I have in that player going to that school. Right? Say, hey, and we ain't missed yet. Sliding scale majiggy, we put in 7 of them this morning, 8 of them actually. One of them, Sammy Brown, he ended up popping a little bit later. If you want to check these out, okay, everyone, if you're listening to it, that's just a crystal ball. It's my version of it. There you go. Boom. Okay, I have these now, and we are 1,000. The majiggy don't miss. All right, so if you want to check out those, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. It is a hot time right now in Georgia recruiting. And despite I gave you the details on the uniqueness of this weekend, I'm not going to sit here and go through all 16 players and tell you where or when they're going. Not here on this platform. We do that on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. You will not, as a Georgia fan, go a day without knowing what you need to know. All right, sliding scale majiggy, don't miss. Hashtag SSM. I like that. Well, hashtag SSM. Bet we won't. Bet we won't go trending today. Bet we won't. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that like, do all that good stuff. I do want to give another shout out before we get going. I gotta change the camera before I look. See, I'm just getting ahead of myself. Got to give a shout out to my boy Jay Griff. All right, I don't know if you guys know me, but I'm by ADD as they come. Now, I don't like to medicate outside of my ADD. I like to let my ADD do me. Okay, I think the Lord gave me this squirrel brain for a reason, and I just let it go. Now, what it means is that the people around me got to understand that too. My wife figured that out very, very early on in our relationship, okay? We just got to let the boy go. Like, if he need to go out and run around like a chicken with his head cut off, just let him do it, okay? Eventually, he'll get back to the right thing that he needs to be on. Just let him go, right? Now, what this means is when you work with me, I'm really, really hard and picky and finicky and random as shit. So, like, today, 6:30, text the graphics department, which is just Jay Griff, and I'm like, hey, my boy, I need this. And he sends me, I'm like, I want this, and this changed. And then he says, and we just like back and forth, just hella demanding on the dude. So that has nothing to do with the show. You guys probably don't even care, but he's going to care. And he works his ass off for this program. So thank you, Jay Griff. And thank you from the family as well. All right, on to the next one. Oh, and he's our majiggy man. Like, there are no sliding scale majiggies without the graphics team. Okay. I texted my man last night at 1:00 and said, I got 8 majiggies. I need them in the morning. ASAP. As soon as you wake up, majiggy me, baby. Yeah, graphics department is just out here working their butt off. ESPN Top 25 released today, yesterday, a couple days ago. I don't even know. Football Power Index, we told you about it a little bit earlier. That's the ESPN's sliding scale majiggy for trying to depict who's going to win national titles. So they got a sliding scale majiggy too. They just call it the Football Power Index. I like the sliding scale majiggy a little bit more. I think it's a lot more original than Football Power Index. I'm not going to go through all top 25 here. I think there's some misses. I think there's some hits, which is why we're just going to buy or sell this segment. Okay, we're going to go through this list, and we're just, like I said, we are going to buy or sell where we think these schools are kind of ranked. All right. Starting, 25 is North Carolina, 24 is Oregon State. I don't have an opinion about either school right now. But I do have an opinion about Baylor. I really, really want to say too low. Okay, they're at 23 on this list. I think Baylor is a really, really good football program, and here's why. I know they're 100th. Baylor is 100th in the country in starters that have returned to their program, right? What do they call that? Production, returning production, all that good stuff. But and we're not a Big 12 channel, but y'all watch college football. If I told you right now that I believe Dave Aranda is the best football coach in the Big 12, would you buck me? Like, would you really fight me on that? Think about that. They were 6-7 last year at Baylor. But if I said today, I think Dave Aranda is the best football coach in the Big 12, I don't think you would buck me that hard. Sure, Texas is talented. But if Dave Aranda and Steve Sarkisian are standing across the sideline from one another in a one-score game in the fourth quarter at Baylor, you feeling comfortable about Steve Sarkisian? I'm probably not, right? I'm probably not. I like Dave Aranda. Okay, hey, Dave Aranda, Brett Venables, as a head coach, not as a defensive coordinator. Hell, as a defensive coordinator, I might take Aranda too. But as man-to-man head coach, proven track record, you taking Brett Venables Or are you taking Dave Aranda? Because I would probably take Dave Aranda. I probably would. So I got all these reasons. I'm same thing. Hey, TCU had a great year last year, but you didn't know nothing about Sonny Dykes. You didn't. You didn't know nothing about Sonny Dykes until you saw him in a national title, and you're like, man, that guy's kind of funny. He's got a good little personality. I like him. I like that Sonny Dykes guy. He's cool, right? But you didn't know nothing about him. Okay, Dave Aranda, Sonny Dykes. Is that really a hard, like, it is a hard debate. It's two really good football coaches, right? I'm sitting here telling myself, man, I like Baylor. I like Baylor. You dog fans. Christian Robinson played at Georgia. Linebacker coach out there at Baylor. Does a great job recruiting the state here. Y'all got all kind of reasons to be good at Baylor. And then I sit here and look at this schedule, bro. I sit here and look at this schedule, and I'm like, damn, Baylor going to get skunked this year. Utah at home, Texas at home. UCF on the road ain't all that easy. They got Cincy on the road as well, Kansas State on the road, and TCU on the road. I think it's been kind of like very, very overlooked. But Cincy and UCF get into that Big 12, man, those are quality football teams. And I don't know, man. Teams like Baylor and teams like Texas Tech aren't going to be able to just sneak their way to 8-4 football programs no more. They're going to have to get over really good and solid what were, mid-major football programs that are now in Power Fives. Let's go on to, we're going to skip Texas Tech and Washington. Don't have much opinions of Michael Penix Jr., despite the fact that he's going to throw for 4,500 yards on Pac-12 After Dark, and ain't none of y'all going to watch it. Ain't none of y'all going to watch it unless you got gambling on it, and if you got gambling on it, that's all right. That's all right. You chasing late. I don't like that habit. It's okay. Sometimes you got to make up for it and run it down, but quit betting. You East Coasters, quit betting on that Pac-12 football. That's the devil. Number 20, I think, is way too low here for Wisconsin. Again, I know this is our national takes out segment here. Wisconsin, dude. Luke Fickell comes from Cincinnati to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin, the Badgers, have 72% of returning production from last year. Okay, about 80% on the defensive side of the football. All right, a lot of dudes returning. They added 14 new transfers. Luke Fickell brought in 14 new transfers, including 4 starters from Cincinnati. Sidebar here. I thought it was absolutely hysterical to see national media members and national fans of college football react and respond to the SEC scheduling news with, SEC scared to play 9. What a bunch of pansies. Listen to this absolutely brutal, I mean brutal slate of games for these here Wisconsin Badgers. They play Buffalo, Washington State, Georgia Southern, Purdue, Rutgers, Iowa, Illinois, Ohio State, Indiana, Northwestern, Minnesota, Nebraska. Bro, Luke Fickell could take a D2 team and go 6-6 in that schedule. That is bum. That is just bad, week after week. Just absolutely drumming up football teams. So the idea that Wisconsin is not going to potentially be 11-1, 10-2 this year, looking down that schedule, the only test on it is Ohio State. Okay? That's it. That Big Ten West has always been really bad. Let's talk some SEC. Okay, there are 2 teams here in the ESPN FPI that make no sense to me. 0. Okay, maybe Texas A&M because they've actually recruited like an SEC football program for 4 or 5 years now. Okay, even there's that one 2022 blip, but that was extremely highly rated. But Texas A&M has been recruiting at a relatively high rate in terms of national recruiting levels for like 5 or 6 years, basically since Jimbo got there. And so kind of since they moved over to the SEC. But nonetheless, they're a talented football team. But I'm not buying anything A&M. I'm out until I ain't on A&M. And then Florida came in at 18 on this football power index. And we've been absolutely just dropping trout and pooping on the Gators this offseason. So I don't want to go too hard on this. But I like I said, I was stunned to see this name on this list. Florida's going, I'm telling you right now, I'm not just doing this because I want to do this and you guys enjoy this and I'm placating to my audience. I truly 100% believe this. Florida's going to be really flirting with 500 all year. Listen to this. Utah, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, LSU, and Florida State. Right now in June, with Graham Mertz as your starting quarterback, all 6 L's, chopping them all up. Every single one of those. Again, let me read those back. And if you have, I have one maybe here, and that's South Carolina. Listen to these. Utah, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, LSU, Florida State. 6 L's. All right? Then let's talk about the other 4 games that are actual like toss-ups for Florida this year, right? If I told you Florida went 500 over these 4 games, you would probably be like, yeah, that checks out. Kentucky, Vandy, Arkansas, Missouri. You think Florida's sweeping all 4 of those in 2023? I'm telling you, they are not. They are not. So we counted off 6 off rip that we chopped up as L's here in June. Let's give them 2 of those other 4 games. That's up to 8. Could Florida lose 8 football games this year? You damn right. You damn right they could. Florida could 100% have a chance to lose, 7 or 8 football games. They will not be, I'm telling you right now, clip it. Florida will not be a top 25 football team at the end of the year. There's just no way. For all of the years for Florida to have no quarterback and a really, really like porous roster, this of all years, that schedule is no cakewalk. There's a South Florida on there and a Benedictine. That's about it. That's about it that you can automatically walk through and talk about wins. I don't really have no ifs, ands, or buts on 17 through 6 on this list. TCU going to be TCU that they've been for the last 2 decades coming up. Like they're back to regression to the mean, most likely, right? Utah, we already talked about a little bit. Ole Miss, like the running game, don't know much else about what they got left with regards. We're going to find out. Florida State, it's a whole bunch of hype. I despise teams that get way too much hype nationally. Particularly like it's weird. Like you see the roster turnover at Florida State and it's like 10 out, 25 in. It's like 4 out, 5 in. It's like good players leaving, good players coming in. It's not like what they're doing at Colorado now. It's not like what they're doing at Wisconsin where they're purging bad players and bringing in good, right? This is a staff that's been there 2 or 3 years now that's siphoning off some of their own guys or having their own guys go to places like Utah, and a lot of guys go to Colorado, starters. And then they're bringing in other dudes. It's like really, really weird. And you add on top of that all the national hype, which, again, not one for that. Anytime everyone loves a team, I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. All right, Oregon, going to outcoach everybody in the Pac-12, going to outdo everybody in the Pac-12 most likely as well. Okay, Tennessee, we're fine with at 12. I think that's properly rated considering what I think of Joe Milton. Oklahoma, Penn State, Notre Dame, Clemson, USC, Michigan, the normal kind of slate there. That's way too high for me on Oklahoma, but we can talk about that at another time. When you're defensive-minded head coach, I know y'all are Oklahoma. I know y'all been coached by Lincoln Riley for years. Y'all did not recruit defense. I understand that. But y'all brought a defensive head coach over, and that homeboy was giving up 60 at home. Like, what are we doing? Like, even Lincoln's teams with really, really porous defensive coordinating and defensive fundamentals and defensive recruiting strategies, we're not doing that. All right, so I don't love watching defensive coordinators turn head coach, and then the defense of that football team that they go absorb gets worse. That ain't good. That is not good. All right, let's talk about Texas. Okay, they're here at 5. And at first glance, I'm like, Texas at 5? Because I don't know if y'all know about me. I'm a Steve Sarkisian lover when it comes to coordinating, offensive play calling, offensive play design, all that good stuff. But I am a skeptic when it comes to whether or not you're going to be out here consistently winning football games as a head football coach if you don't do all the, manic things that all great head coaches do, right? All the super obsessiveness that all these coaches seem to have. Sark doesn't strike me as that. I'm not saying that Steve Sarkisian is Dan Mullen, but Steve Sarkisian is on closer side of Dan Mullen than he is Nick Saban, in my opinion, in my history book right now. Okay. We are still great coordinator, yet to be great coach. I think that. And then I went back and looked at these results last year. First of all, Texas started 2 freshman offensive tackles last year, left and right. They held their own. They survived, very similar to what LSU did last year. Just threw the puppies out there and we're like, hey, a long play. This is a long play right here. We're gonna let y'all cultivate. We're gonna let y'all grow where y'all feet are, and we're gonna let you just be patient. Okay. And in year 2, those types of gambles, those types of year 1 gambles on freshmen, they're badass sophomores. They're gonna be badass sophomores, both those tackles. And And not only that, they returned their best 3 wide receivers and, of course, A.D. Mitchell as well. But what really stood out to me on an 8-5 record book last year, did you know in their 5 losses, they lost by an average of 5.5 points? All 5 of Texas's losses last year were 1-score losses. And I don't know if I look at that and I say, oh, Brooks, young football team. It's all good. It's a young football team, Brooks. Or if I look at that and I say, well, that's a coach who can't win tight football games, right? What do we do there? Okay, and I'll tell you what we do. We year 3 principle this bitch. Okay, you've been listening to this program for a while. You know we have a year 3 theory. What is the year 3 theory? Well, my theory is that in college football, by year 3, as a head football coach, we know whether you're going to win a national title, compete for a national title perennially, or you're just by the wayside. You're JAG. You are just another guy. We know in the first 3 years. That's what history tells us. Okay. Steve Sarkisian's in year 3. This is the year. 5-7, 8-5. What's up? And if you look at the schedule, they should be 12-0, 11-1, depending on how things shake out towards the end of the season. But when I look at the schedule, outside of Alabama, I see 11 games that Texas should win. And I can't guarantee that they're going to show up every single Saturday. So that's what this year for me is about. It's not about, you get on national media and you'll hear people talk about, oh, is it Quinn Ewers' team? Are we going to see Arch Manning? What about Malik Murphy, right? They'll do the quarterback discussion. That's not what it is for me. What it is for me is, hey, will your football team win tight football games this year? And will you, in a year that you should, by the way, you should compete for a college football playoff spot, Texas? I hate to do that. I hate to put monumental expectations on the University of Texas, like they don't have them already. But I'm here to tell you that with your schedule, with Alabama being the only game you will not be favored in, you should be 11-1 and Big 12 champions by the end of the year. But we say that a lot, I feel, about Big 12 should be winners, and they just don't get out. They just don't survive. And I'm here to tell you, if you can't get your boys to show up and play their butt off every single weekend in a Big 12 slate, there ain't no damn way you're going to survive in the SEC. I'm just telling you, there's no way you're going to survive in the SEC, because I'm going to read you a slate here in a second that we're going to talk about. Okay, listen to this slate. We're going to get to it here in a minute. Okay, in the first 8 weeks of the college football season, listen to what Alabama's got to do this year. Texas, Ole Miss, back-to-back road games, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Tennessee. That's their first 8 weeks. Dude, Texas got a bunch of Rice, Texas Tech, a little Baylor mixed in. Oh, dang, we got a rivalry game against Oklahoma. Right? It's like they're going to be 7, 8, 12-point favorites in a lot of their football games. And then you're going to look up. You are going to look up this November, this October, this September. And you're going to be like, damn, Texas in a 1-score football game. And they're down against Tulane. What the hell's happening? Okay, I don't know. But it happens. It happens every single year. But I'm fine with them at 5 because, again, I think they're uber talented. I think their schedule is uber weak. And 10-2 finishes 5th, 6th in the NCAA in college football nowadays. Okay, and I think that spells like a 10-2. It smells like a 10-2 schedule to me with upside of 12-0. There is upside of 12-0. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit. And we'll crack into it right now. I think the top 4 right here for this FPI Power Index is a little bit confusing. You see LSU at 4, Georgia at 3, Alabama at 2, and Ohio State at 1. And I ain't even gonna lie to you, I was gonna get on here and make some elongated argument and get all pissed off about how Ohio State and Alabama's quarterback woes and questions seem to go by the wayside. Everybody's like, oh, their offense just gonna be great. And then Georgia's got to replace a quarterback after putting up 42 points and finishing 2nd in college football in points per game last year. And everybody's like, oh, I don't know. Georgia's got quarterback questions. As if Alabama ain't staring at Tyler Buckner, a transfer that got beat out at Notre Dame. And, the other quarterback that they got in there, I got his name written down here somewhere, Jalen Milroe. Okay. Ohio State got quarterback questions as well. Who are they going to start? CJ Stroud off to the NFL. Okay. But no. Football Power Index, the nerds, the computers don't care. Matter of fact, they are almost guaranteeing that Alabama, Ohio State, and Yeah, Alabama and Ohio State will replace. I thought it was a third. Georgia is a third. I'm an idiot. Alabama and Ohio State replace quarterback play better than you. I was going to do. I was going to get all fired up. I was going to make a big deal about it. But here's the real deal, right? Instead of doing something simple like stacking up rosters and being like, oh, Georgia's the number one team in the country because they got the most elite units. Okay, because they do. They got the most elite units across the board in terms of, hey, their D-line unit's better than Alabama's and Ohio State's. Their quarterback room is push. Their running back room is whatever. Their wide receiver room is whatever. Their DB room is better. Their linebacker room is better. Their offensive line room is better. Like, we could do that. We could sit here and we could do that type of analysis, and I honestly think that analysis is a little bit boring, and I almost fell into the trap of doing it. So instead of doing that, I'm going to do this. Let's talk about which of these programs has an opportunity to overcome their issues. Right. And all three of them have very similar issues, mainly sharing in common one. They're replacing starters, right? Most of them multi-year starters, all of them multi-year starters. Okay. So let's start with Bama. Bama obviously has their major quarterback issues right now. Okay. And like I told you, that schedule to start the season in which they don't know who's going to be starting quarterback. And by the way, nobody on roster has starting experience or really massive playing experience. I think Tyler Buchner has 60 career attempts. Jalen Milroe probably has something similar. Okay, Jalen Milroe, no career starts. Tyler Buchner, 2. That's it. That's all that's in that room right now. Okay, and as I told you just a couple of minutes ago, Texas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Tennessee, 6 of their first 8 weeks of the season. Okay, think about that. Tyler Buchner, whose only career starts have come against South Carolina and I want to say Illinois, or whoever was on that Notre Dame slate last year. Think about that. Jalen Milroe, whose only really game experience was when Bryce Young got hurt against Arkansas and the week after that. Okay. I don't know if Bama will stumble. Okay. I don't know. It's hard to sit here in the beginning of the year and say Bama's going to stumble. But, man, that's a really, really hard slate to overcome if you don't have consistency at the quarterback. You're not going to be able to just line up and bully ball people 7 weeks in a row on that slate. That's a really tough-ass opening to a season when you don't know and you don't have stability at the quarterback position. Okay, so of all 3 of these football teams that we're going to talk about tonight that are competing for this quote-unquote number 1 spot, college football, in the last year of actual perfection being a prerequisite, by the way, reminiscing this, folks, these discussions don't mean a hill of damn beans next year. Next year, we're going to be talking about on this channel whether it's 11 or 12 or 13 or whether we should take UCF over fucking Temple. That's what we're going to be doing next year. So y'all just wait on that. Right now, we get to argue about these big boys and what separates the elites of the elites. And right now, Bama is 3 on these 1, 2, 3s for that reason. They got a hard-ass slate to start the football season. And I don't know if they survive it with quarterback questions abundant. Okay, so let's move on to Ohio State. Ohio State obviously has quarterback questions of themselves. Kyle McCord or my man's from Clemson or man's from California that I'm running out of brain width and bandwidth for this weekend or tonight. Okay, but here's the bottom line about Ohio State, and you guys know this. Lord knows they don't get tested but once out of the year, and every once in a while, college football guys will bless us with 2 tests for Ohio State. In the last couple of years, they've been doing it. They got Notre Dame week 4 or week 5, I believe it is. Notre Dame week 4. And then they got Michigan November 25th. And you know what? They're going to be all right. They're going to beat the shit out of Youngstown State. And then they can line up just like they did last year. And they can out-talent Notre Dame. Because that's what – I mean, they can out-talent, figure it out, not have a great game from their quarterback, and win. You know how I know? Because that's exactly what happened last year. They showed up flat. They didn't really have answers the whole first half. And then, boom, all of a sudden, wide receivers start making plays. They put a couple of drives together, and they score. That's Ohio State football, ladies and gentlemen, and that shit ain't changing. They going to have it this year there as well. So, yes, there's Penn State on the schedule, and Penn State tends to grab one of these guys every year, right? They tend to either – and last year they didn't. The year before that they didn't. So let's not talk about Penn State like this. But Penn State, every once in a while, is that team that nabs Michigan or nabs Ohio State. I don't know if this year is going to be the year that happens. Okay. But it's not a gruesome schedule, as you know, not to mention whichever quarterback steps up and steps in that system, that dude gets to throw to the best receiver in the sport. That's it. That dude gets to stand in there and have a brilliant offensive mind that designs really, really easy concepts, pick and stick concepts. What does that mean? That means he gets to pick his receiver, stick on it. If that dude ain't open, we got a backside hot. And you just immediately flip over and you check that ball out. Pick and stick. That's what they do. It's not really, really complicated. is designed for consistency and explosivity. That's what it's designed about. It's designed around elite receivers and a quarterback that can just put it on the spot. Okay, just be accurate. That's all. We're gonna make the decisions for you. We're gonna give you half-field reads. We're not gonna make it hard. Pick and stick. Be accurate. Okay, so it's not a really, really tough transition for a football team. But here's what I will tell you. After we just poked all kinds of holes in Ohio State, 2 tackles gone. First-round tackle, third-round tackle. Yadios. Center, gone. Edge rusher, third-round pick, gone. Quarterback, gone. Slot receiver, gone. Number 2 receiver, gone. There's a lot of losses. There's a lot to replace at a program that really only recruits at an elite level at 2 positions, right? 2 positions. Wide receiver, quarterback. That's it. Okay, all those other things they got to replace, they replace them with Jimmys and Joes right now, not like superstars like they used to. The days of the Bosa boys running through and playing edge at Ohio State are gone. Jack Sawyer, that's about it. Jack Sawyer is a really good football player, but he is not a Bosa. He is not a Chase Young. He is not one of these. Okay, so I think Ohio State's got a lot of questions in and of their right, or, rightfully so, to be asked about them, which brings us to Georgia. Like I already told you, Georgia has the best offensive line in the country. So every person that is going into this season kind of casting doubt over Georgia, why is it? They're doing it for 2 reasons. One, starting with Carson Beck. Nobody likes that guy for some reason. I don't get it. They fit to change. Because it's going to, bro, that's going to take like 4 weeks and people are going to be like, oh my God, look at what this Georgia quarterback's doing. He's only throwing 5 incompletions in the first 3 weeks of the season. It's going to happen. You watch. But for some reason, people doubt him, and that's fine. Okay, but not unlike they're doing the rest of them. And the other reason is the coordinator change, right? Monken out, Bobo in. There's a lot of questions. I don't know if you know this, but I don't necessarily think like national media is like out here hyping up Bobo, right? Prime example, you people listening to this right now, not to do the you people thing. People listening tonight, did you know that Ohio State lost an offensive coordinator and that Ohio State's got a first-year play designer and play caller in the headsets right now in Brian Hartline? Did y'all know that? You probably didn't. You probably didn't because you're not out here like really, really deep diving the Ohio State stuff. But you probably also don't know that because the Pete Thamels of the world ain't out here, bickering about it. Or the Desmond Howards aren't on ESPN Game Day, College Game Day, talking about, well, I don't know if Brian Hartline can call plays. I don't know. They don't know. They don't do that, right? But there we go. All the changes in the world. But back to Georgia. Georgia's got an elite offensive line, right? A schedule that sees just one ranked opponent in the first 5 weeks, and that ranked opponent is South Carolina at home. So it ain't like they got a murderer's row either. We just shit all over Ohio State's schedule. I'd argue that Georgia's is just as easy, if not easier, this year with the way the SEC East has come out. Georgia has to have their shit together offensively by mid-November, okay? And once mid-November hits and they got to play Ole Miss at home and then they got to go to Knoxville, Tennessee, if they don't have their house in order offensively in those 2 games, they might see some struggles. But other than that, they got all the time in the world to figure out who they are and what they are offensively. So if you're listening tonight and you're wondering, hey, who should preseason be the number 1 ranked team in the country? Let's take aside what teams did last year. Let's take aside what teams have on their roster and how talented they are. Let's take aside what you think about each quarterback room and each quarterback battle that is abundant at Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. Look at the schedule. Look how it presents itself. And just ask yourself, which one of these football teams who has to figure out who they are has the rightful opportunity to do so? Okay, and you will come to find really, really quickly, it's Ohio State and it's Georgia. Alabama's first 8 weeks are hellsome for a football program that has no idea what they're about to do at quarterback. For the Film Guy Network, for Brooks Austin, for the camera switchy thing, for the sliding scale majiggy, for patreon.com/Brooks Austin. I love you. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Boy, that show was gas.